All right, we are live streaming, so I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting today. It is October 4th, there we go, October 4th, 2021, and it is 4 p.m. In accordance with the coronavirus 19 advisory and the governor's requirements for meetings that are held, as this one is at a distance via Zoom. We are going to comply with all legal requirements. So I'd like to officially call the meeting to order and start with a roll call, please.
Director Bonanno.
Here.
Vice Chair Halbert. It looks like he's trying to connect right now. I'll wait for a moment. Director Hernandez. Director Hernandez.
Here.
Yeah. Halbert's here.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Halbert. Director Josie.
Sorry, here.
Director Kick.
Here.
Director Naram is absent during this meeting. And then Chair Brown.
All right, I am proud to be here. So meeting open to the public is our next agenda item. These are items that are not listed on our current agenda, but are of the purview or responsibility of the LAVTA Board of Directors. So Jennifer, do we have anybody that would like to speak on items open to the public?
So we have 2 attendees in this meeting today. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. Okay, they have not raised their hand. So I believe we don't have any public speakers, and I didn't receive anything via email today.
Okay, we'll be asking later just because of the new 361 Senate bill requirement for agenda item 5, but that sounds good. Thank you. I will close the meeting open to the public and move on to our consent agenda. These are items that are normally routine in nature and are approved by a single vote. Do we have anybody that would like to pull any of these items for additional discussion here on our board of directors? Seeing none, does staff have any items they need to pull? Maybe they're not ready for a vote or anything like that. Agenda changes? All right, seeing none, I will be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
A second.
All right, the motion's been made by Josie and second by Bonanno. Could we take a roll call vote? Oh, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll look for a roll call vote, please.
Director Bonanno. Director.
Aye, sorry.
Thank you. Vice Chair Halbert.
Aye.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Josie.
Aye.
Director Kick.
Aye.
Chair Brown.
Yes, aye.
And Director Naram is absent.
Okay. All right, and just for future meetings, we, as is noted in the staff report, agenda item 5, Senate Bill 361, it needs to be approved every month, so you will see that coming forward. Okay, we're on to our executive director's report. Michael, could you get us started?
All right, well,
Michael.
Chair, we need to approve.
Yeah.
We need to approve item 5, right?
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, it was not part of the consent, sorry.
No, it wasn't part of the consent.
You're right. Okay, thank you so much for the clarification. It just rolled right onto the end of the page and onto it. Yes, could we have a staff report, or would it be through our attorney, the
I
adoption
can
of a
give
resolution?
I'll give a brief explanation. So for months now, through the pandemic, we've been meeting pursuant to the governor's executive order, which allowed us to meet by teleconference without having to comply with the other requirements of the Brown Act regarding teleconferencing meetings. That executive order was allowed to expire because the legislature passed an urgency measure, AB 361, that has similar but slightly different requirements. One of which is really what's before you now, and that is a requirement that every 30 days, the board act to indicate the continued presence not only of a state of emergency, which is on the state level, but also of recommendations for social distancing. And we have those in a couple of different ways. There's a state OSHA requirement. I know Contra Costa County Health Officer has actually posted a very handy flyer on how to hold safe public meetings that also recommends social distancing. So I think we're confident there's sufficient advice out there that social distancing be maintained. We will need, based on the language of the statute, which could have been better, we will need to redo this finding every 30 days. And we're okay for October. The November meetings within 30 days. We may, as I was discussing with Chair Brown, we may come back late November at one of your committee meetings and have you make a finding to get us to the December meeting if we want to be that careful. I'm not sure what the legislature thought. I guess they didn't realize that boards that meet monthly might not meet 30 days. Maybe 35 would have been helpful. Anyway, it is what it is. Hopefully we don't have to do it for too long and we'll be able to come back and meet in person before too many months. Fingers crossed. So anyway, so our recommendation is to adopt the resolution. It'll be from now on, we'll put it on the consent calendar so that it doesn't take up much of your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Have any questions? Seeing none, I do have a question. Oh, go ahead, Jean.
Sorry, I did have one question. You said you could put it on the one of the committee.
We might call a special meeting at the same time as a committee meeting so that because sometimes our committee meetings actually have a quorum of the board. We have a special rule to prevent that from being a board meeting. We call it a committee of the whole meeting, but so I'll keep that in reserve. Hopefully this doesn't go on too long. There's a little bit of debate in the city attorney, legal counsel world in terms of, okay, well, they said 30 days. Does that mean if our board's meeting's not for 33 days, is that okay? And depending on how technical the attorneys want to be, yes or no. So I think we might, since I think it's only going to happen every so often, and we have the handy presence of those committee meetings at the end of the month, I think it'd be pretty painless for us to be able to do that. So
Okay, thank you.
So exactly that was part of my question. So thank you for asking it, but I'm going to clarify just a little bit. We do meet on this first Monday of the month, but sometimes the first Monday of the month, right now it's the 4th, but sometimes it might be the 7th. That's 33 days.
Right.
So 31 days, even 35, as you said, or 36 would have helped cover that whole range.
So November, I think it's the 1st. Is that right?
The
I think
1st.
we're okay in November.
The 1st, but then December is the 6th.
December. So end of November. I don't know if we have our committee meetings late in November or not, but we may have to have a special meeting to do it. I think I'm going to err on
So
the
I
side of
called it
caution.
wrong. It was Assembly bill instead of Senate bill, but all those smart people in our assembly, I'm surprised they didn't catch that.
No comment.
Okay,
Some of you
so-
someday may go there, so I'd hate to.
Won't be me. I think there's other great people up there. Okay, so we've got our questions answered, it looks like. I'm looking for a motion to approve agenda item 5.
So moved. Second.
Okay, a motion made by Josie and seconded by Kick. Could we have a roll call? Oh, do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak on this item? I should have asked.
I don't see anybody with hands raised right now.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Could we take a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Director Bonanno.
Aye.
Vice Chair Halbert.
Aye.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Josie.
Aye.
Director Kick.
Aye.
Chair Brown.
Yes, aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And it's a little deja vu, but let me go back to Executive Director's Report, agenda item 6, as we heard earlier today, before 5 and again after 5. Michael, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've had a good weekend. It's only been a week or so since we met in our special board meeting, so appreciate you coming back. The big item for the board meeting was scheduled to be our zero emission bus study, and we had a few hiccups with the schedule the folks presenting. So we'll take that to committee in October and then bring it to the board in November. And as you'll recall, we're at the recommendation stage for how to move forward in that study. I included a few things in the executive director's report, a little bit of information about ridership. And as we took that to the P&S committee, some questions were asked in regard to the ridership, in particular, how the student ridership was doing. And so we took a look, and prior to September, the student ridership was at 60% of pre-COVID levels. But it was trending in the right direction, and it certainly was trending in September. We'll have a little more information on that as we get kind of all the statistics put in order. But with the zero fare September, I think more and more students were taking advantage of that as the month moved along. The other big thing that I think there's three big things that staff's working on right now. One is certainly the zero emission bus study. That's got a lot of complexity to it. The second one is certainly hiring operators. We've got that deficit with the operators that we're trying to make up so that we can put more and more service onto the road. And, we've had a lot of strides. Tone's really been working with our contractor in that regard. And at the current time, we have 15 new operators in the pipeline, either going through the qualification stage, passing the drug test, passing the background check, or in classroom or behind the wheel. So I think we're moving in the right direction. I think history shows about 50% of those drop off the radar by the time they get their license or are supposed to have their license so that they can get on the road. But having 15 in the pipeline, we haven't had that in a long time. And then the final thing certainly that we've been working on is your Atlantis maintenance and operations facility. I think I mentioned at the special board meeting, we're working really closely with the state, with CalSTA, to see if we can get a direct allocation to the agency to pay for a hydrogen fueling station, and also our maintenance facility, our new maintenance facility over at Atlantis, which would have the upgrades in it to maintain hydrogen buses. So, it's got a long ways to go before that gets approved, at least another probably 30 to 45 days of discussion and lining up of all the variables or the stars on that. But so far, so good on that. A couple of other things in the executive director's report. I think it was you, Chair Brown, who challenged us to go out and find a case, some level of a trophy case to put some of the awards that we'd received over the last few years. So we went out and did that. It's beautiful. It's in the lobby. You'll all see it as you come in and come to future board meetings. Hopefully in the near future, we can get everybody back coming in person. But in particular, this Telly Award came in the mail last week. And so it's our second Telly Award. It's a pretty prestigious national award. We got this latest one for the video on the Shared Autonomous Vehicle Project. And so I think the lobby looks beautiful. And then just made note of a few other things, including Genesis, a nonprofit organization who called Supervisor Hobbard and asked for some time on the bus. Gave you a picture of what occurred late last week with Genesis, this organization, taking a ride with Supervisor Hobbard. And he had an opportunity there. I'm sure he can chat about it to talk commuting and talk air quality and zero emission buses and the shared autonomous vehicles. So it's a group that really wants to promote public transit. And so it was a nice opportunity for Supervisor Hobbard on that to make good with their ask for a ride. So other than that, there's a lot going on. We've got the LAVTA awards in November, and that information on that was in your last executive director's report. And so if you're interested in going to Orlando and helping to receive that award in November, it'd be great to know, and we can help you with travel arrangements and getting you to that conference. So be happy to take any questions that you might have. It's super busy for staff. Tony McCauley, our director of planning and marketing, has been out getting some things done. So staff's really kind of stepped up to the plate and covered his absence. I think he'll be gone probably another month as he works through some medical things. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Michael, no questions, but just a thank you for attending the ride along and making sure that went very smoothly. And it was a great thing to do. Thank you for your support.
You bet.
Carla? Director Bonanno has her hand raised.
Sure. I was just going to let David finish. Go ahead, Director Bonanno.
Thank you. Let's see, a couple of questions. So I was thinking about the ridership, and if I remember from an earlier meeting, the baseline ridership before the pandemic was something like 7,500 per day. Does that sound about right? So, and I'm also linking this to my next question, which would be, since there was a discussion about the future of public transit, maybe Supervisor Halbert might tell us what he sees in the future for public transit. So I guess my first part of my question is, maybe they figured it all out during that one bus trip. If the ridership never comes back, I mean, what kind of scenario planning projection for the future if ridership just doesn't come back to that level? I mean, do you start thinking about that now? Or, I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just asking about whether that in the context of the future of public transit, do we have kind of a way through that and what might the agency be thinking about now with that? And then I have, that's my last comment now, and I'll let you answer that. I just want to say thank you to staff. The trophies and the trophy capes make me want to just extend my thanks to Tamara, Jennifer, Tony, Michael for helping me get up to speed over the last few months. I've had sort of off the record conversations with them about questions I'd had on a number of items, and they've really been great and very, very available to just sort of answer my questions, so I don't have to ask them all in the meeting, which I could do, but I'm a question kind of person, so I just wanted to thank them on the record for all their help over the last few months.
Well, that is really nice, but this is the reason they have that beautiful case. You know, when I first came to Wheels, it was 9 years ago, and I think Supervisor Halbert was on as the Dublin representative, and we had no trophies. And then we hired Michael and Town and different groups, and all of a sudden, you know, especially with that autonomous vehicle, it's one hot little toaster. So it became pictures on calendars, became calendar vehicle, and more. So it's something to be truly proud of. So with that, I want to check the math, because I know Gina is very sharp on math, but I heard that we are about 60% of traditional ridership. And if we're at 3,500 and 7,500, that's less than a 60% current ridership. So maybe you could comment, was it 6,500 before, if we're 3,500 now?
I think Gina had it right. It was somewhere between 7,000 and 7,500. And the 60% number is the percentage of student ridership that has returned. Okay. So they've increased, their ridership return has been greater than other groups that rode Wheels both pre-COVID and during.
Okay, so the average weekday ridership is including everybody went from about 7 to 7,500 to 3,500, so about 50%, if not slightly less.
Yeah, that's a total weekday ridership.
Weekday ridership. Okay, great. Sounds good. Thank you for the clarification. And the trophy case does look great. I had to drop off and do some wet signatures at the office, so it was lovely. And whoever, I think Jennifer may have added a little bit of fall decorations as well. So are there any items initiated by board members that you'd like to see discussed at our next board meeting?
Chair Brown, just real quickly, Board Member Bonanno had asked briefly about what we saw in the future for ridership and how we would react to that moving forward. And I don't know if Board Member Hobart wanted to interject his thoughts there. I think she may have asked him, but certainly It brings up the point that your short-range transit plan is currently in the initial stages, and the board will be becoming more and more involved in the short-range transit plan, which is a 5-year window, a 5-year look at the service that will be provided, as well as a glimpse into, into more of a longer range planning effort. And so, the jury's still out, I think, on where ridership will ultimately go, what will come back and what won't. And that'll be driven by a lot of policies, a lot of them perhaps from employers on how they'll work with their employees on remote working. But just to be short on the answer, Nelson Nygaard is on contract to come in and help us with the short range transit plan. And they have been taking deep dives, not only in the Bay Area, but in the state and within the nation on how to work with the board on near future service levels. So you should see some activity with the short range transit plan within the next 60 days. Probably we'll look for an opportunity to have them come in and have a strategic discussion with the board on probably multiple occasions over the next 3 or 4 months as we start that and get that put together.
Right. Board member Kick, hold on 1 minute, if you don't mind. As a follow-on to your question, Michael, when you compare ridership at about a 50% rate to, let's say, like C3 CTA, do you think 50% is better than average, or are we in the middle of the pack?
That's a really good question. My gut impression is you're probably at the middle of the pack, or maybe even a hair above the middle of the pack, but it seems to be a statistic that most of the executive directors are focusing on that 50% mark, more or less.
Okay, yeah, because the BART parking lot is still very empty. Board member Kick, questions, or would you like to add something to an agenda?
Yeah, I'll let Michael decide if it should just be a memo or it needs to come back. I know that Livermore does not have school bus service, and that's because our rapid transit lines are very close to where the majority of the schools are. I'm getting some outreach from parents complaining that we don't have school buses anymore, and why isn't that, and how come Dublin and Pleasanton get it? So if there's some sort of messaging that you can help explain that, yes, that it's not an official school bus, however, it's still gets your kids home, and maybe we do a better job messaging that to the district, that although it's not a school only bus, will still get your kids where they need to go with the same great staff and same great service. So just something that's come up in the last week or so as people have been in the swing of things at school.
Got it. Yeah, why don't I'll get with staff, and maybe that's a nice memo that kind of gives some background on the former school service and why the board transitioned when they did with the creation of the rapid routes. But I'll get you something, and if you'd like to bring that back to the board once you get that memo, we can do that as well.
Sure, thanks. That would be helpful. Just having some context so I can answer their questions in a better way than, no, it's fine. They can take the regular bus. So,
or this other answer. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
Which is not acceptable either. Yeah, our Amador High School is on a rapid line, but that's, I think, probably our only, or our main school. Okay, all right. Good comments and good questions. Anything else? All right, seeing none, our next meeting is scheduled for November 1st. That's the day after Halloween. So we plan to all be high on sugar, just like the kids at school. And we'll look forward to seeing you then. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye.